Hi, Casey Durango here of Go Keto with Casey. If you've tried to access this live stream a little while ago, I apologize for the technical difficulties. They keep changing the rules on me. Okay, my name is Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey. I talk about how I've lost 97 pounds on the ketogenic diet and how you might be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your lives. Again, thank you for your patience. I am going to just trust that this is actually going through this time. It looks like it is, so I'm going to keep talking. I don't know what else to do. Okay, so we are going to talk today about the food list. And you know what? I still don't see me showing up anywhere. Can someone please tell me if you see me? Can anyone say, hey? Hey, I see you. Can anyone do that for me? Okay, thank you. I think I'm here. Technology is my frenemy. Okay. The problem is I'm going through some software, so I can't see the comments when I'm on that software. Anyway, the food list. Let's get to the matter at hand. There is much conversation about the food list that you follow when you're on the ketogenic diet. Quick primer. The ketogenic diet is one in which you reduce your carbohydrate intake to the point where your liver does not push out glucose, sugar for fuel, and your body turns to burning ketones or fat for fuel. That's why it's called the ketogenic diet. The food that you eat, it's, the food that you do eat is not quite as important sometimes as just what you're leaving off. It's the absence of carbohydrate that makes this diet work. So what do you eat? What do you eat? There are lots of food lists. Contrary to what some think, this is not a state secret. It's not a magical list. It's a list of food that's been around for a really long time. And it became kind of famous as the food list, and it goes by a few names. But it's published all over the place. Now, that's fine. You probably have seen the food list. It's first page is the foods that are on the food list, and then the second page in a red box shows what to avoid. That's all well and good. But can I tell you, people often become really kind of hyper-focused on this list. And the minutia of the list, if that makes sense. Wait a minute. One version that I see. Wait a minute. Can you guys hear me? I forgot to plug in. Dang it. Let me plug in my microphone. It's not a good day. Okay. One version of the list may say 2 tablespoons of this, and another one says 4 tablespoons of this. One says 2 ounces of cheese, one says 4 ounces of cheese. One says minimum vegetables, one says maximum vegetables. I want us to pay attention to something. I want us to take a step back. Because I will say easily, 100 inquiries a week about the food list. 100 easily, between my YouTube channel, my blog, the Facebook things, Facebook groups and pages, and just people randomly emailing me. For the record, the food list I followed is at my blog, CaseyDurango.com, under the resources tab. I want to be very clear. This is the food list I followed. I'm being literally, that's the food list I followed. I didn't invent it. And you can follow whatever you like, because there are lots of ways to get to the same destination. But try to think under the auspices of let's learn to fish rather than continually needing to be given a fish. FYI, fish is on the food list. Take a step back and think. If the basic tenet of this is to reduce your carbohydrate intake to the level where your liver will not put out glucose, pretty much across the board, 20 grams total, not net, daily, will pretty much fit the bill for there. Some people can tolerate a little bit more. Some people need to actually drop that down a bit. But pretty much for the majority of people, 20 grams a day of carbohydrate, total, not net, will do the trick. So what that means is you eat limited amounts of foods with carbohydrate. The way most people follow the diet, the protocol, is you're eating, majority of your food is composed of fatty sources of protein. What does that mean? Protein is animal product. I mean, to really put it indelicately, protein, for the most part, comes from our animal friends. So if it's from an animal or of an animal, that is almost certainly going to be on the food list, including internal organs, liver, kidneys, chicken gizzards. So you eat poultry with the skin. When I say fatty sources of protein, that just means the way nature packaged its protein. Chicken with the skin, poultry with the skin, duck, turkey, beef with the fat. Go for the fattier cuts of beef, not the expensive filet mignon. Of course, you can have that if you want, but it doesn't have as much fat. It's okay. Get a chuck roast, get a ribeye, New York strip, ground chuck, ground beef, pork with the ribbon of fat, bacon with fat. That's what fatty sources of protein mean. Eggs are perfect. Eggs with the yolks. Then the rest of your diet, if you choose to eat vegetables, which are not, there is no minimum, at least not the food plan I followed. I didn't even follow a food plan. I don't even like to put it that way. I just followed the concepts. Carbohydrate is not an essential macronutrient. Protein and fat are. We must consume those to get the benefits of them. Carbohydrate is not an essential macronutrient. So you can go on very few veg if you want. If you are going to eat vegetables, keep it to about a cup of non-starchy vegetables a day and about 2 cups of leafy greens a day, maximum. You don't even need to look at the food list. If you might need to have it as a little reference at the beginning because, we may not intuitively know what is a non-starchy vegetable. As a rule, vegetables that grow below the ground, potatoes, sweet potatoes, beets, carrots, onions, etc., are starchier. They're growing below the ground because their function is to store starch, which is sugar, which turns into glucose for the greens. So, as a rule, it's not across the board, vegetables that grow above the ground are our friends. Fruit, not on the list, period. So you don't even have to worry about, that. So just try to imagine the food in the grocery store and you don't have the food list with you. What do you think you would do? We're talking learning how to fish here. So don't, try not to hyper-focus on the various versions of the food list. Keep the concepts straight. Keep your carbohydrate intake 20 grams or fewer a day. Eat fatty sources of protein and don't eat if you're not hungry. Now, it is helpful to realize that some, olive oil is, if you're going to use, some oils and things, is preferable to canola oil or corn oil. Seed oils are, as a rule, not preferred because they're higher in omega-6s, which are inflammatory. So study the list, but don't hyper-focus on the list. And the things that are not a fatty source of protein, like sour cream or butter or mayo or cheese, are not unlimited. And just try to keep Try to keep it's generally going to be limited to about 2 tablespoons of any of those things or 2 ounces, and you're probably going to be good to go. My lovely mate had a great suggestion. We were talking about this. And he said people should make their own food lists. So, for instance, I'm looking. Alana. Make Alana's food list. Look at the food list that you find on the interwebs or published in books. It's been published everywhere. Nobody has it copyrighted that I know of. It doesn't belong to anybody that I know of, including me. Make your own list. You're going to look at the list, and if you're someone says, no way I'm eating liver, mark it off. So that's not going on your food list. If someone says, I don't eat pork, no problem. It's not on your food list. If you say, I could eat green beans every day, that goes on your food list. Remember, though, not unlimited, about a cup pre-cooked of green beans, max. If you say, I've never liked vegetables, don't put them on your food list. Make your own food list. Build it. Find the things that you like. Figure out what works for you. Get into ketosis and then figure out if you want to make a change. If you've set up and pretty strict here. I've been eating eggs and bacon until the cows come home, and that you're okay with that. You say, now good, I'm in ketosis, I'm losing some weight. I wonder how Brussels sprouts will affect me. Figure it out. Learn to fish. You don't need anybody telling you what to eat. We are conditioned to think that we need to be told what to eat. We've been really conditioned for the last 50 years. Failed experiment. Thank you, powers that be, for performing a bad experiment on the world population. We've been told, get this and this and this, and eat 3 meals a day, 2 snacks. And here's what you should eat. And diet programs have that. Many people are successful on Weight Watchers, but they tell you what to eat within a point range, right? Jenny Craig, eat these packaged meals. This is what you eat. That's not learning to fish. Seafood is on the list, by the way. So, step back from the minutia. If you really don't know what starchy vegetables, which ones are starchy, do learn those. And if you really don't know how you will top out at 20 grams of carbohydrate, educate yourself. I had to. I got an OXO food scale, which I really like. And I already had one because I used it for baking back in the days when I baked. And I would weigh out. I got the USDA food database and figured out how many grams of carbohydrate were in broccoli or cauliflower or Brussels sprouts or green beans, and which are non-starchy vegetables. And I thought, I see. Half a plate of broccoli that's not what I'm supposed to be eating. It's more like 4 spears. About a cup. I like to weigh it because that was more exact. So, again, the food list is all over the place. Don't feel like if you see one list with maximum and one with minimum something or other, put on your thinking cap. If the tenet is 20 grams or fewer a day, and most of your carbs are going to come from vegetables, if you eat vegetables, then how could there be a minimum amount? Right? If you want to keep your carbs to 20 grams or fewer, and a list says minimum 1 cup or 2 cups of vegetables, whatever it is, or 7 cups of leafy greens, minimum, which means you can eat much more than that, then how are you going to keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer? It really is that straightforward. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. If you have a higher tolerance for it, fantastic. Some people do. If you're younger, if you're male, if you have a different body composition, If you're a young male with different body composition, you hit the jackpot, then you might have a higher tolerance for carbohydrate. But for those of us who are trying this because we have struggled, go straight for it. Just go straight for it. When you get to feeling good, you're shedding body fat, you're losing inches, you will have more energy, you feel more alert, you're in ketosis, then you say, I wonder what my tolerance is. And people will find out. They'll do something and they'll say, oof, I'm never going to do that again. I feel like crud the next day. But you figure out what works for you. I hope this makes sense. I hope the point I'm trying to make is you don't have to have a food list. I won't put out a meal plan. People have said, why don't you publish and sell a meal plan? I have no judgment and no problem with people who do that, who put out and sell meal plans, and those who follow them. The reason I won't is, again, I think people should learn to fish rather than being given a fish every day. Figure it out. See, if I put out a meal plan, and what if I put out a meal plan that's kind of like what I eat, and that's not the right plan for you? You need much more food than I do. Or what if I put out one, and it's much more food than you need? If you eat the food, fatty sources of protein, and don't eat if you're not hungry, you don't need a meal plan. You don't need anyone instructing you. Take a little time, educate yourself just a bit with free things. The USDA food database has everything that you can possibly imagine, and it'll tell you the grams of carbohydrate. I don't worry about grams of protein. I don't worry, never have had, about grams of fat. It all takes care of itself. If you are at 20 grams of carbohydrate or fewer a day, eat fatty sources of protein, and don't eat if you're not hungry. The little incidentals, the sour cream or the mayo or the cheese or the heavy cream, consider those like enhancements in jewelry for your wardrobe. Your main wardrobe is the fatty sources of protein. A little bit of sour cream, a little bit of cheese, some butter, some olive oil, if you like it. Avoid anything that is or originated as a grain or a seed. Corn oil, not so great. If that's all you can get, if that's what you can afford, don't freak out. Artificial sweeteners, do what you like. Our whole artificial sweetener thing, I would argue, is a big distraction, and possibly started by the sugar industry. We use Splenda in our house. People are convinced we're going to explode. Well, so far so good. Some people like erythritol, xylitol. People like Sweet and Low. Some people like Swerve. Some people like the little drops. But those are all incidental. Don't let those become your distraction. Don't get distracted by a piece of paper. If you're not going to let an app tell you what to eat, which you shouldn't. I had a conversation with a woman yesterday. She was so confused. She's using MyFitnessPal. And she says, it tells me to eat, it was like 1,366 calories a day. Now, that's a very specific number. And I told her the truth. I said, I never did use MyFitnessPal to track calories. Because if I eat 1,366 calories a day, I would put on weight, for one thing. And she and I are about the same age and gender and everything. Don't let an app tell you what to eat. And certainly don't let a piece of paper with typos on it. There are versions out there with typos and simply mistakes and have been altered. Look at it this way. If someone said, here's the food list, and I'm going to follow this food list blindly, and some scoundrel out there puts arsenic, minimum 1 teaspoon a day, would you look in that and say, well, it's on the list, I better eat it? No, you wouldn't do that. We'd use our head and say, no, I'm not going to eat a teaspoon of arsenic a day. no, I'm not going to eat a ton of vegetables because I can't, that doesn't jive with the 20 grams of carb a day or fewer. Okay, enough about that. I've ranted. And I'm going to loop back around and apologize to those of you who had to show up 2 or 3 times to get this. Now I'm going to, I don't have my glasses, but I think I can see. I'm going to see if I can read some of these comments. They do go by quickly. Do you think keto lists are different in other countries, like South Africa or in Asia? I have no idea, Lita. Good question. But again, yeah, why wouldn't they be? Because there are foods that are eaten in other parts of the world, guess what, are not on that page because you can't fit every possible food that would be. I'm going to stop referring to, I don't know that I actually ever did. I don't think of them as allowed foods. Okay, I'm trying to get out of the mindset of what am I allowed to eat? What is keto legal? You know why? Because you know what? That comes from a place of us still being told what we can and can't do. Dadgummit, I've had enough of that. I've listened to really cruddy advice for most of my life from people who knew better. So, plus I'm really old, so you can't really tell me what I can and can't do anymore. I prefer to think of these as not compliant. Well, I'll have to come up with a better word. Appropriate. Appropriate for the protocol. They're just appropriate for the protocol. Now, and guess what? Some places might eat alligator. Alligator is a fatty source of protein, so I'm going to assume it would be on the list. Some places, ostrich. Now, I don't know, I don't know or care about the protein to fat ratio of all these particular foods. Just, because I don't measure that. So, people say, what about duck eggs? Can I have duck eggs? For one thing, you can have anything you want. You're a grown-up. But yeah, it's an egg. Just because it came from a duck. It doesn't make a difference. Some places, there are certain exotic, non-starchy vegetables. For instance, I don't know the answer to this question. Would cactus be appropriate? I don't know. Maybe someone else does. In some parts of the world, in some parts of the country, cactus is eaten. I have no idea. But the USDA government database might know. I don't know. So, again, the metaphor, learning to fish. Think about it. They couldn't fit everything. No one could fit. And this is just fatty sources of protein. Some dairy, if you can tolerate it. Limited to about 2 tablespoons and 2 ounces a day of those things, which is plenty. And if you don't eat, if you're not hungry, you're going to find out that is a lot of food. That you are satisfied on less and less food. Okay? It's weird, and it's hard to trust. You say, well, I hardly ate anything. That can't be right. Surely I should eat more. But you say, not that I'm stuffed. I just really don't want any more. Not only will you find that your hunger dissipates, your appetite decreases. Hunger and appetite are 2 different things. And I have been empty, flat out empty, and still had no appetite. That's when you say, oh, what can I eat so I don't have to eat anything else? A couple hard-boiled eggs, glass of water, good to go. So, don't hyper-focus on the list. The list is a good reference to start. Frankly, I didn't look at the list after I got it. I made a copy for my husband once he started, and he took it to Colombia, South America with him. Because it just made sense to me. And he was going and he was going to share it with his family. But I really didn't have to look at it. Because guess what? It's fatty sources of protein, which you don't have to, portions aren't part of the protocol, particularly when you start. And if you only follow your hunger, there's only so much you can eat anyway if you're eating fatty sources of protein. We can mindlessly eat popcorn and cheese puffs and Chips Ahoy cookies and mounds of rice and chips. But you can't so mindlessly eat ribeye. I mean, you just get to the point where you just can't eat anymore. It's self-regulating if you listen to your body. So there. Okay, that was a great question about different parts of the country. Brenda Johnston, I'm 100 from my goal and find myself slipping back into eating a lot more, still keeping carbs under 20. Ultimately, thank you for saying that. That's where the eating only when hungry. Don't eat if you're not hungry. It's hard to do because we are so habitual. That was the most challenging part for me. Getting rid of the carbs, not a problem. Because I was just ready. I felt like crud. I had done for a long time, and I didn't want to take insulin for diabetes. So if cutting out carbs was going to do that for me, I was okay with it. But not eating if not hungry, challenge. Because we are habitual. I never smoked. Thank goodness. Everyone in my very large family smoked. Except for one of my many brothers. He and I never smoked. And no one would have stopped me from smoking. I'm so glad I never started. I probably would never have been able to stop. But I know from members of my family that it was habitual. Get in the car, light a cigarette. Pour a cup of coffee, light a cigarette. Without even thinking about it. Habitual. We do the same thing with food. Walk in the door after a day's work. A friend of mine told me about this. She'd walk in the door. First thing she'd do without thinking about it is she kept Hershey's Kisses in a bowl in her kitchen. She'd go through, grab a handful of Hershey's Kisses without thinking about it. Boom, boom, boom. Do her little routine with the silver things, the little rats. Boom, 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 pop, pop, pop. Never even thought about it. And then when she started paying attention to it, she said, holy cow, I can't believe how many Hershey's Kisses I ate. And then she doesn't even have them in the house. It's not that she doesn't crave them, she doesn't even want them. This can be done. Okay. Jude, hey Jude. Once I dealt with why I was eating emotionally, I knew I had the battle half won. Yes, indeed. Keep in mind, we stress eat, we emotionally eat, we eat out of emotion. We eat comfort food. Isn't that funny how we call it comfort food? Has anyone actually felt comforted after you've eaten that pint of ice cream? No. You might have dulled your senses for a little bit while you were eating it. But didn't you feel awful afterwards? So you're comforting yourself because you got fired. I'm going to comfort myself. I'm going to go eat a pint of Haagen-Dazs. Okay, so you eat the pint of Haagen-Dazs. So you're still fired. And now you've eaten a pint of Haagen-Dazs. Not comfort food. We have a saying around Go Keto with Casey. I didn't make it up. But if hunger's not your problem, food is not the answer. Right? Food is not going to get you your job back. Food is not going to repair your marriage if it's broken. Food is not going to make up with your best friend you just had a big fight. Food is not going to get your taxes done for you. If hunger is not your problem, food is not the answer. So yes, thank you for sharing that, Jude. Hey, Demetria. Demetria brings up the roadshow. Just really quickly, 2 weeks from today, we will be at the Go Keto with Casey Roadshow with Jackie Eberstein, Dr. Eric Westman, me, but most importantly, a bunch of people from around the country who are going to be sharing their stories to the extent they want to share them. This is going to be about the attendees. This is going to be fun. And we're going to get together socially Friday evening for those who want to and can make it. We're going to be together socially after the program ends for late lunch. And we're going to be together socially for those who can and wish to for breakfast on Sunday morning. It is going to be fun. So if you can make it, I'm really excited about it. And hopefully this will be the first roadshow. And we're going to try to have them in other places. Hey, Karen. Yes, Karen writes, y'all are going to have so much fun. And we know you wish you could be with us. And we wish you could be with us as well. I also want to say thank you to patrons who are here. I see several of you. And patrons make it possible for this to go on. And for those who are interested in becoming patrons, there's a lot. I do a lot more with Patreon than I do on YouTube or here. And I do weekday morning videos that, they help me more than they help the patrons. And there's a patron-only forum where it's a very good, safe place. Okay, enough about that. Alrighty, does anyone have, hi, Della, does anyone have a question? And yes, we're hoping that possibly there will be a Pacific Northwest Roadshow, possibly in September. Skeleton of that being put together. Ross, oh, somebody's bummed. Won't be able to attend. Busy season at work. Oh, Rosa. Hey, Rosa, I think you're one of 3 people in Brooklyn. I'm from Patreon. I think there are 3 of you. Okay. Any questions that for each other, or that I can try to answer, or, have you always been curious about my necklace? A lot of people are curious about my necklace. I got a lot of questions. My lovely mate brought me this about 25 years ago from Colombia, South America on one of his trips, and I wear it essentially every day. Okay, coolio. All right, guys. I'm sorry for the late start. I don't want to... Oh, Jean O'Connor, I'm sorry I did not respond to your message. You are more than welcome, if you wish, to join us at one of the social things. I'm sorry I didn't respond. I've been snowed under. Texas, that'd be fun. Deep in the heart of Texas. Okay, guys, looks like people are falling off, and that is great. I appreciate you showing up. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning. I would like technology to go for one 12-hour period without making any changes. Technology, if you're listening, can you just chill out for a half a day? Man, it's hard for this little white-haired woman to keep up. Okay. All right, I'm going to... Okay, Jean, thank you. Again, I'm so sorry that I delayed in responding to your kind email. Exogenous ketones? No. Valerie, okay, my opinion here. There is really no good science. And even the people doing research in exogenous ketones, the last I heard, and I was there listening to the lectures, exogenous ketones, as far as anyone knows now, are not a benefit for people who are wanting the benefits of nutritional ketosis, which means burning body fat, reducing inflammation, keeping your blood sugar, or getting your blood sugar normalized. There is ongoing research for exogenous ketones. And for those of you who don't know, that's literally drinking ketones. Exogenous means outside of the body. Endogenous means inside the body. Exogenous is outside. There's research ongoing to see if exogenous ketones can be used for therapeutic purposes. Therapeutic ketosis. This means addressing neurological disorders. People who are working or living in extreme environments. Astronauts. Navy SEALs. People with neurological disorders. But there's research going on. It's still not done. Honestly, it's a way to sell you something. A lot of people and companies are jumping on the keto bandwagon. They're slapping the word keto on everything. Okay? I know that there will come a thing where someone's selling keto avocados. They're not special avocados. Avocados are on the food list. By the way, half a fruit. So save your money. What some people say, oh, I'm in ketosis. I'm in ketosis. Well, you may or may not be, but if you're drinking the ketones, it's just going right through you and coming out your pee. So that's not really going to do you much good if you're looking to burn body fat. And they have sugar in them? Is that true? I didn't know that. Okay, Shannon, what is my opinion of sausage? Breakfast sausage, that is. Had 2 breakfast sausages today and a piece of bacon and 3 scrambled eggs that my lovely maid made for me. And some farmer's cheese. I love link sausages. Love them. I don't get freaked out. The nitrite thing, hooey. And as long as the carb count, I wouldn't want to get one that's dipped in brown sugar or something. But I don't worry about it. You know. Karen in France, yeah, I love you too. Will you video a roadshow? One of the wonderful patrons is a gifted photographer, and we are working on that. I won't live stream it, and I don't know that I'm just going to be putting it out there gratis, but we'll see. I just don't know. Here's my deal, guys. I don't sell products. I don't have sponsors. Well, I don't have, I'm not affiliated money-wise with any company. I'm not going to sell products other than like mugs and t-shirts and insulated grocery bags. My patrons sponsor me and they keep me going. But in order to essentially not take any advertising, I have to be cautious and I have to be, sensible with what I do. Alana, worry about sausage from restaurants. Some are very sweet. You know what? If you can taste the sweet, that's an excellent signal. And a lot of us have become hypersensitive to the sweet taste. So just, put it aside. And ask questions. Can you tell me, and they will, if they've cooked sausages and they do it on the same place they've been cooking pancakes, and there's maple syrup everywhere, just be careful. Thank you for selling products. Yeah, I think that must have said thank you for not selling products. Yeah, I don't take sponsorship. It's very difficult because guess what? There's nothing to sell. You don't need to buy anything special. You don't have to buy special supplements. You do what you want to do. I take a multivitamin every day. I take L-lysine because I'm prone to fever blisters, and my patrons told me about that. And I have been taking slow-release magnesium, but I'm weaning myself off of that. I'm doing an experiment. So glad, and no selling your cookbook. I don't have a cookbook, so I'm not sure what that meant. So there's nothing to sell. This is why this is, one of the reasons this is, they're having to come up with products. Can I tell you something? If a product has a long shelf life, it's probably not going to be appropriate for the ketogenic diet, because the reason it has a shelf life is because they've had to put stabilizers in it to give it a shelf life. The extreme example is a Twinkie. Not appropriate for the ketogenic diet, and it can stay on the shelf for 50 years. Not long shelf life. Egg salad. Appropriate for the ketogenic diet. What for fever blisters? I heard from a lot of people, L-lysine. I don't know if anyone else has that. It's inexpensive and it's easy to do. What multivitamin do you take? The one from Costco? Frankly, I wouldn't even take those except we're in the habit of it. My husband likes to take them. Okay. Oh, Helena, are you in the house? Hey, Helena, yeah, L-lysine. I heard a lot of people, and so far so good. Of course, we'll see. All right, it is now. I've been talking for 40 minutes. I always say I'm going to do a 20-minute one. My husband always laughs out loud when I start saying that, because he knows it's hard for me to shut up. Anything else before I sign off that anyone would like to share? I am going to give another plug for Patreon. There are different levels of support. And for those levels of support, there are different rewards going from patron-only Friday morning live streams to patron-only group video chats to one-on-one chats with me. But there are weekday videos from me, and you get to see me with no makeup and pillow hair, and sometimes before my coffee, and you get to hear my husband making breakfast in the background. And that's patreon.com, patreon.com/GoKetoWithKasey. Alrighty, so it looks like you guys are talking together and all that. And diet soda, yeah, it doesn't have any carbs. Some people say that artificial sweeteners stall them out. Find out what works for you. We drink Coke Zero is our particular favorite. We drink Crystal Light, which just appalls many people. I drink water too. Diet tonic water with my nightcap with gin and or vodka. As long, if it doesn't have carbs, if it's no sugar. Some people don't do it, but you find what works for you. If it's live, can you gain weight when you first start keto? Cheryl, I don't know why you would if you're following the protocol. Most people find that they have a pretty quick little flush of weight loss, literal flush of weight loss, when done appropriately. Remember, it's 20 grams of carbohydrate total, not net. There's no almond flour on the list. Again, learn to fish. Do what works for you. But nuts are not on the list. They're calorically dense. They're not low in carbs. And they're very easy to overeat. So there's no almond flour. If there's no almonds, there's no almond flour. Don't blame keto for what the net carbs did. Don't blame keto for what the fat bombs did. Don't blame keto for what the MCT oil did. Don't blame keto for what I'm going to pull back on that last one. Learn to edit myself. So I don't know why you would. Now, just because because a food is appropriate for the ketogenic diet doesn't mean it's obligatory and doesn't mean it's unlimited. That's when listening to your body. It's really easy to say, hot diggity dog, I can eat all these chicken thighs with the skin. I love that. I'm going to put some butter on them, and then I'm going to have 7 rashers of bacon and 2 Italian sausages. And so do it if it works for you, but don't stuff yourself just because you can. Listen to your hunger, which is a unique feeling. Hunger on keto is different than when you're a fat burner. Hunger is different than when you're a sugar burner. It's that simple. It's just different. I did a video about that one last week, at least in my experience. And all I can talk about is my experience. I'm not a doctor. And I'm not a special snowflake. All I can do is talk about my experience and share it, which I like to do. All I want to do is drink wine and talk about keto. All right. Okay, for me, artificial sweeteners drive cravings. And people will say that it kind of triggers a pleasure center in the brain. So stick off them if that works for you. We don't eat a ton of them. I mostly use some for my coffee, but after my coffee in the morning, I'm drinking water or homemade bone broth or bouillon or something. So I don't eat a lot of artificial sweeteners. How do you get your food list? Again, it's not my food list. It's a food list. It's the food list I've followed. But it's at my blog, KaseyDurango.com, under the resources tab. It's 2 pages long. But remember, make your own food list. Go down and I think my husband was brilliant for that. Make your own food list and build it from there. Why total, not net? What about veggies? Okay, I'm not going to, I've actually talked a lot about that, so I'm not going to go back on that. Paleo versus keto. Paleo is they're very similar. They have much more in common than apart. My understanding of paleo is that fruit is allowed, but fruit is not on keto because it's sugar. So it's very difficult to eat fruit and stay under 20 grams of carb a day. You know, I think one apple has 20 grams of carbs. I think. So that would be it for the whole day. And they don't permit dairy. Remember, on the ketogenic diet, on this, I'm getting away from the whole permitted, allowed, illegal. Find what works for you. You're an adult. I'm an adult. Everyone here is an adult. Figure out what works. Don't let an app tell you what to eat. Don't let a sheet of paper tell you what to eat. Don't let a talking head tell you what to eat. Don't let someone trying to sell you a bunch of products tell you what to eat. Particularly if they're saying, oh, you're going to be deficient in XYZ on the ketogenic diet, which is, there's almost nothing you're going to be deficient on if you eat a well-formulated ketogenic diet. So you're going to be deficient on this, so let me sell you some supplements or some shakes. Or let me tell you how to get into ketosis real quick. You're going to drink this. They're selling you stuff, guys. There's nothing that you need to buy except food. If you want to know what's appropriate for the ketogenic diet, close your eyes. Imagine you're at your grocer's and you're standing in the refrigerated meat aisle. That's what's appropriate. Everything in there. And then if you're in the vegetable area, mostly the things that need to be chilled. The root vegetables that are in the middle tables, no. But mostly non-starchy vegetables. Leafy greens, squash, zucchini, which is squash. The cruciferous foods, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, about a cup a day maximum. Leafy greens, about 2 cups a day maximum. Bingo. That's the list. Kids ate keto for millions of years. Absolutely. Babies are born in ketosis. Babies are born in ketosis. They went from being this big to being this big in 9 months, following a ketogenic diet. Okay. Alrighty, guys, I am going to wind up now. Really appreciate you being here. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning. I'll try to come up with something better next time. I think I learned something today. And remember, keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day. Total, not net. Oh, why total and not net? Because really there's no good science behind subtracting fiber grams from that. It's just really a way that food manufacturers came up with so that they could fit more carbs into the food. Because it's easier to sell food with carbs than to sell food without, because it's more shelf stable. It's easier to transport, package, and keep it on the shelf if it has more carbs, because the carbs are in the stabilizers. When the nutritional information lists sugar, missed it, sorry. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Signing off. I mean it this time. Thank you very much. Do svidania. Auf Wiedersehen. Adios. Ciao. Be sweet. TTFN.